Welcome everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today. We're delighted to have Tomas Hayes, Head of Kerry Local Enterprise Office, here with us today to run through all the various business supports and funding that's available currently through the Local Enterprise Office, and he'll also run through some of the other supports with other government agencies as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to Tomas, but if you have questions during the actual webinar, you can go to the bottom of your screen, just scroll over the bottom of it there, and you'll see there's a Q&A, and if you just pop your questions into the Q&A section, please don't put them into chat because they tend to get lost in there. So Tomas will just be looking at the Q&A. So pop the questions in there, and towards the end, after Tomas's presentation, he'll actually run through those questions and answers. So I'll just hand over to Tomas, and thank you very much. Bye now, see you in a while.
Hello everybody, Tomas here. I'm delighted to be here this afternoon. And again, I'd like to thank Elin and her team, Kerry Businesswomen's Network. I suppose over the years we've worked very closely with that group, and certainly we value the contact. And of course, it's all about advising people and get information out to people. Now, sorry about this. Huh? I have a little technical glitch.
I'll come in for a sec. What I'll do is I'm going to kick off. Are you okay there, Tomas? Will I kick off this poll while you're getting that started? What we've done is we've created a poll here, and everyone there, if you can just go on and answer. There's just two questions. Really, it's just to find out who they're watching today has actually availed of LEO funding in the past. So just to give them an idea of who's familiar with the process. And then the second question is just asking you what of the different vouchers or different schemes you're most interested in. So we can let that running for a few moments while Tomas gets his screen sharing going.
I think we're okay again, Helen.
You're okay again?
Yeah.
Okay. Tomas, you just let me know when you want to end that poll, when you're happy that it's this.
Okay. Sure, I'll push on again, so Ellen. Okay.
Do.
Right.
Okay, we're going to end that and share those results now.
So again, I suppose I'm giving some information in relation to some of the supports that are available through the Local Enterprise Office. Right, just bring that down. I suppose the first thing, this morning we launched a business support line, Kerry County Council. And again, there is a number there, 1800 807 102. And that line is manned by a group of people, again, in terms of providing different types of information. I suppose the reality here, I suppose, is the Local Enterprise Office. We work within our own schemes. There are other queries that do come in relation to the various county council activities and so on. For example, such as rates, what is the position in rates at the moment? People might have a specific planning query, or indeed they might be looking for a contact of another agency or whatever. So again, this line is up and running as of this morning. So again, you know, I'd encourage people to put in the call if you have a specific query and talk to one of the people there. And again, if it comes back to Leo here, we will address that. So I suppose just looking at the Local Enterprise Office network, there are 31 local enterprise offices in Ireland. If there are people here today who might be based up in North Cork or in Cork itself, again, our colleagues operate offices there. And again, there'll be similar type of services in terms of what is on offer, particularly with the COVID crisis. Again, our own website there is localenterprise.ie/Kerry, and certainly if you go online there, you'll get a wealth of information. One item of information that is very useful at the moment, again, is helping your business respond to COVID-19. Again, it's a comprehensive list that details all the Local Enterprise Office supports available. As I say, that is available for download on the site itself. Again, it's very easy format, very easily downloadable, and again, you know, it just explains things quite simply and quite easily. I suppose over the last couple of weeks, we've been offering a service here, and again, we're taking quite a number of calls from businesses. And what am I seeing on the ground? And it's no harm just to run through this again, because everybody, you know, we're facing the same issues. All businesses are facing the same issues. Obviously, there's business stress and personal stress. There's a huge concern for the future. A lot of people have been through a difficult time, we'll say, previously with the recession. You know, it's hard to build your business. Again, see difficulties arising with the business and trying to go back into rebuild mode again. There's a lot of confusion, particularly in personal care services. And again, it's to do with social distancing. What about the hairdressers? What about the barbers? What about the physiotherapists? You know, how can they operate going forward? There's a whole tourism area. Again, what we're seeing is substantial cancellations across accommodation providers, again, tourism service providers. And, you know, I suppose in terms of the future and these businesses opening, you know, with those cancellations, I would assume that the emphasis is going to be on domestic tourism going forward. And again, there's a little bit of change within those businesses required. So, you know, they're facing particular challenges. Business services, what about the accountants, solicitors? You know, they're all affected by this as well. I've highlighted decent rate. Green, you know, I'm saying, you know, there's some good stuff happening out there as well. There's mutual support and networking. Like, this is so important. If you look at the Kerry Businesswomen's network, it's important that people exchange information. It's important that people have issues, that they put those issues out there and they have a discussion on those. Technology is there to do this, and certainly engagement with one another is important. A lot of businesses are looking at repositioning, particularly developing online capability, moving very quickly. We've all moved very quickly in terms of the use of technology, and certainly having these meetings and presentations and webinars and so on. As a local enterprise office, we've had to do it ourselves in terms of training delivery. Like, some people are very creative in terms of adapting to, I suppose, this new world. And people need to be thinking outside the box a little bit in terms of bringing their businesses forward. And of course, there's a whole technology catapult. Like, as I mentioned earlier, we've been pushed forward into using new technologies that perhaps we spoke about previously, but we haven't been using. So, you know, it's an interesting place to be at the moment. It's a fact in business, and it's a fact in life, that all great changes are preceded by chaos. And, you know, I'm not saying this in a flippant manner. It is, you know, change drives change, and chaos drives change. And I suppose we're in a situation where we're all leaping forward, perhaps a little bit into the unknown, but technology certainly is going to play a massive part going forward in everything that we do. Today, I'm going to talk about a couple of initiatives that the local enterprise office is delivering. And again, I have touched on this before a number of months ago, where we had a very interesting morning out in the Ballygarry, again explaining some of the programs that are available to the local enterprise offices. And, you know, these have changed slightly. Again, I suppose in respect of our training, we've moved a lot of it online. And again, we're delivering a number of programs presently. They're available on our website. The one thing we have done is that we've dropped any charges in these programs. And again, you know, I suppose what is coming through time and time again is obviously problem solving. I suppose looking at the whole area of creativity. Finances, how do you structure your finances? How do you keep those relationships with your debtors and creditors? And again, what funding options are available to small and medium-sized businesses during this crisis? So we're working towards putting a lot of these programs onto our website at the moment, and again, delivering through the webinar format. I suppose other online training and events, again, virtual networking, selling online, moving your business online, and I'll touch on that shortly when I discuss the trading online voucher scheme. Agile workplace adaptation. This is a program that has been out there for a while, and again, I might have mentioned this previously in other presentations. With agile workplace adaptation, I think that's going to grow into its own over the next while. Again, where as businesses are looking at their workplaces, trying to adapt them in terms of meeting social distancing requirements while retaining efficiencies within the business itself. And again, you know, I suppose looking at the technologies, remote working and video conferencing tools for SMEs. So again, development of webinars in these areas. I was talking to Elin earlier, and I said, look, you know, be very interested in getting feedback from the Kerry Businesswomen's Network and its members in terms of what exactly are you looking for. Maybe it is worthwhile doing some type of training needs analysis or review of where people are at the moment. I'm throwing this program up. It's one I came across. One of our colleagues up the country was doing it. And I think, you know, this would be perhaps a good place to start. Reopening a hair and beauty business, plan a pathway for new standards. Again, a 1-hour Zoom webinar.
Tomas, sorry, I just go across you 2 seconds there. Your screen, actually, your screen share isn't popping up there. Maybe just to have a quick look at that.
Right.
We can just see you.
All right, okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. In the meantime, guys, if you do want to spark any questions into that Q&A there at the bottom, I'll keep an eye on them, and at the end, Tomas can show those and go through the various ones and answer your queries. The joys of you talked about chaos and technology and adapting, Tomas. We're demonstrating it.
Yeah.
Just at the bottom of the screen there, just on your screen share, just hit that there. If you just scroll to the very bottom of the screen.
No.
And it should give you the option to choose once you press that screen share button at the bottom of your Zoom screen.
Sorry, I'll just have to get out. I'll have to just go to this again, I think. Sorry.
Oh wait, answer questions coming in the meantime. I'll read them out. I don't know the answers to them, but I'll read them anyway while Tomas is figuring this out. What is the interest rate for microfinance loans? That's from Katie O'Carroll. Thanks, Katie. Kira O'Donnell's asking, what exactly are the criteria for the business development? What is the criteria for the business development fund? Susan Bowman's asking, did you say that Leo has dropped any charges on any programs? So yeah, that'd be a good one to find. Katie again, will there be tailored training in social distancing measures, for example, restaurants? And Anita Duna, how long do I have to wait after attending the webinar to find out if I'm eligible for funding? So Tomas will go through all of those. We still have, how are you getting on there, Tomas?
I'm struggling to tell you the truth. Okay, perhaps if I just talk on for the moment.
Do. Listen, and you can see the questions. We'll go through those afterwards. I'm going to disappear again and I'll let you continue on.
Okay, so I suppose one program we've been looking at is reopening a hair and beauty business, planning a pathway for new standards. Again, looking at it, delivering it as a webinar. And again, it's bringing salon owners through the steps of understanding, I suppose, elevated hygiene standards. And I suppose looking at reduced contact is the new norm. So as I say, you know, sometimes it's just a case of perhaps swiveling programs. Like this is a program that could be adapted for other sectors as well, perhaps in the hospitality sector, you know, where initial taster program is provided, and then we could look at maybe referral to the Education and Training Board or whatever in terms of further programs. I'm going to talk on the business continuity voucher, and this is a new scheme. It has been introduced over the last couple of weeks. And again, it's a voucher where there is up to €2,500 in third-party consultancy costs. And again, it's designed for businesses across every sector that employs up to 50 people. And I suppose the voucher itself, it's similar to a mentoring program. A business might have a specific issue. So for example, the business might be looking at preparing a business plan or a viability plan. And the local enterprise office can assign somebody to work with the business in supporting that process. A business might be looking at its remote technology capacity. And again, perhaps somebody could be brought in to advise the business on that basis. But again, it's looking at supporting businesses making informed decisions about immediate measures and remedial actions that need to be taken to protect staff and sales. We've been very busy with that. We've had over 120 applications over the last 2 weeks, and we're working through those. The business continuity voucher application itself, it is available on our website. It's a simple 2-page form. again, people can fill that out and return it to us. We acknowledge it, and we will get back to you as soon as we can on that. The next scheme I talk about is what is known as the Trading Online Voucher. Again, we've discussed this previously, but there have been changes to the scheme itself, because I suppose the scheme has been expanded. There's up to €2,500 available for e-commerce and digital marketing activities. Again, 70% towards e-commerce activity, 30% towards digital marketing. The matching funding for the Trading Online Voucher application has been reduced from 50% to 10%. So basically, the local enterprise office would fund up to 90% of the application to a maximum of €2,500. And the second application for a Trading Online Voucher is now permitted. So if you previously applied for a voucher and if you were approved, you've had some success with your e-commerce strategy and website strategy, and you have completed that work, and now you want to come back and look at another voucher, then you are eligible to do so. Now, there is a requirement on this, and there's one requirement would be that you would attend a webinar. Again, we do an hour's webinar, but the whole point is to ensure that you're getting value out of that voucher, to ensure that you're getting value for money, and to ensure that you're doing the right thing. Now, we do realize that people are already very much engaged with existing web designers, and it's a question that has come up: do you need 3 quotations for this work? We like to see businesses get 3 quotations, or at least show an attempt to get 3 quotations. So you could email a web designer and say, looking for quotations. And again, once you've proven that you've to the market, looking for, competitive quotes, then generally that satisfies the criteria. So I'll just explain this again. The vouchers worth up to €2,500. The matching funding for the Trading Online Voucher has been reduced from 50% to 10%. And the second application for a Trading Online Voucher is now permitted for e-commerce system upgrades. And I do stress e-commerce. This isn't about developing a brochure site. This is about trading online. It's about selling online, and so on. Now, another scheme that has been out there, and I'll just touch on it, is an Enterprise Ireland retail online scheme. Now, this is specifically targeting businesses that had 10 or more employees on or before the 29th of February 2020. Again, it has been Irish-owned retail business, but there is a grant available of up to 40,000, and successful applicants will be awarded funding to support a maximum of 80% of the project costs. Again, specifically targeting retail outlets that have an existing online presence. Now, if people want further information on this, they can go onto the Enterprise Ireland website, and again, just do a search on the retail online scheme, or contact retail@enterpriseireland.com. The Microfinance Ireland. Again, Microfinance Ireland has enhanced its loan scheme. It has now increased the loans from 25,000 maximum to 50,000. I suppose this 50,000 loan is known as the COVID-19 microfinance loan, but the business itself has to have shown a 15% decrease in turnover or profits in order to avail of that scheme. Somebody asked there earlier, what is the interest rate? The interest rate is 4.5%. So that has been reduced. If people are applying directly outside of the local enterprise office, it runs at 5.5%. The interesting thing about the Microfinance Ireland offering is that the first 6 months are 0% interest and 0 repayments. So that's for the first 6 months, 0% interest and 0 repayments. So what you're getting is a moratorium for the first 6 months. The loan terms are generally up to 3 years, and the loans can vary from 5,000 to 50,000. So what is the process here? Again, I suppose the business might make contact with our own office here. We would assign, and the business would download the application from Microfinance Ireland and register with Microfinance Ireland. We would assist the business in terms of pulling the application together and tightening it up. But it's like any loan scheme, it is important to go back and start pulling together the information that is required, such as your own bank statements, business bank statements, And of course, it varies, I suppose. If the business is a limited company, then certainly the director's previous banking history and so on needs to be put forward too. And of course, things like credit checks, everything else that goes with that. But I suppose what I would say to you is that we would provide support around that. We would put in a specialist to support the application process ourselves. We basically send the application on to Microfinance Ireland, based in Dublin, and the subsequent contract is then between your own business, yourself, and Microfinance Ireland. Again, I suppose the funding scheme, it's flexible enough in that it can look at cash flow, it can look at equipment purchase, and so on as well. So, you know, it's pretty flexible. A couple of other schemes I'll just touch on without going into them in huge detail. There are various schemes out there. Again, they're administered by the mainstream banks. Some of you might have heard of an organisation known as the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland. And again, it does provide working capital for businesses. It does provide, I suppose, limited or minimum security for loans up to 500,000, particularly for the larger businesses, at an interest rate of 4%. So again, I'd advise, you know, if you're going back and if you're looking at working capital for your business, it's worth inquiring with your local bank and just having the conversation in terms of the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland offering. It is administered through the mainstream bank. There are two support funds there. One is known as the Working Capital Scheme, and the second one is called the Future Growth Loan Scheme. And again, you know, the interest rate is around 4 to 4.5%. I suppose, again, on varied terms, depending on what you're looking at. But have a talk with your mainstream banks in terms of future cash flow and cash provisioning. Another scheme that is out there, it's known as a Credit Guarantee Scheme. Again, it's administered by the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland. It's a partial loan scheme up to 80,000, or up to 80% of the value of the borrowing. And again, you know, there's 10,000 to 1 million with loan periods of up to 7 years. And there's no security required for loans to 500,000. So again, you know, as I say, it's important to ask the questions of your bankers and just try and explore schemes such as the Credit Guarantee Scheme, again administered by the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland. That is the SBCI, and it's worth just going onto their website and just having a look around there as well. Enterprise Ireland have a number of funds as well, but again, you'd have to be a client of Enterprise Ireland in order to avail of those. For example, one of those funds would be the Sustaining Enterprise Fund, again with repayable advance of up to 800,000. But in order to qualify for that, and you need to be an Enterprise Ireland client, you need to have exhausted the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland eligibility and context. Now, there's a whole range of supports out there. Again, if people go online, the Department of Business, Enterprise and Innovation have a really good guide presently. So if you're doing a search, it's supports for businesses impacted by COVID-19. And again, it is regularly updated every week, and certainly it's a guide that we would use ourselves. It's an easy to read guide and certainly provides a wealth of information. So all I'd say to people is, you know, get in touch with us if you do have a query. The three main schemes I was covering today. One is the business continuity voucher, where expertise can be provided to a business up to the value of €2,500. Again, the applications are on our website. People want to download and come back and make the discussion. It's important that you clearly articulate what you're looking for within that, so we can assign the appropriate expert or mentor to the business. The second scheme I spoke about today was the Microfinance Ireland COVID-19 loan scheme. Again, interest rate of 4.5%, and loans from 5,000 to 50,000. You have to show a reduction in your turnover of 15% or profit to avail of it as a result of the COVID-19 issues. The application process, again, you download the application from Microfinance. We provide support in completing the application process, and we send that on to Microfinance subsequent to completion. And as I say, the third support, it's worth considering, is the enhanced trading online offering. Again, where the trading online voucher up to €2,500. 90% funding is provided. You provide the 10%. But again, obviously, you have to spend the money in advance. You have to show that you're getting 3 quotes. And again, you've got to be a micro business. So with that, if anybody has any queries, please do not hesitate to contact our office. I don't know what has happened to us on the technical side here, but we're obviously somewhat challenged, but I'll ensure that Elin has our PowerPoint again, and it is placed and it is available to you. So with that, Elin, I'll hand back to you.
Well, I'm going to keep you there for a sec. I'm going to join you because we've got about 15 questions here on the Q&A. So what I'll do is I'll just read them out to you, and then you can answer them live, as it were. So the first one is from Katie O'Carroll. So what's the interest rate for their microfinance loans? So we're probably going to double up on things, but it's no harm anyway to go back over some of the queries again.
Okay.
So yeah.
So it's 4.5%. If you go directly to microfinance yourself, it is 5.5%. Now, do we get it? Does the local enterprise office take a commission on it? Not at all. But we provide a support service around that. So in making the application itself. Now, just be clear about it, that the contract is between yourself and, or between your own business and Microfinance Ireland. Now, if you want to have a look at Microfinance Ireland, it's microfinanceIreland.ie. And again, you can register. And again, we do provide, as I say, support in terms of the application process.
Great, thanks, Tomas. Okay, so the next question is from Ciara O'Donnell. So it's, what exactly are the criteria for the Business Development Fund, please?
The business, is this the business continuity voucher?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right. Basically, it's for any business up to 50 employees. Is there any restriction on it? No, there's not. I suppose the way we operate it here in Kerry is that we have a panel of advisors, a panel of mentors, and we would assign one of those to your business on the basis of what you put on the application form itself. But as I say, it is a very busy scheme. The only restriction is that I think it's open until the 27th of May at the moment. And again, I suppose just give an example of some of the applications that we've had in. As I said, it could be an accommodation provider. Again, where there has been substantial cancellations, and again, they're looking at trying to develop a business plan, a viability model, something that they can actually take forward, maybe to talk to their own bank, or even go back and talk to the Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland. You know, so it's that type of stuff. But again, it's up to the business to identify the particular need themselves. Another one, for example, when I dealt with during the week would have been a local service business. Again, their requirement was based on personal services, so it's health and safety issues. Could I talk to somebody and discuss a plan in terms of health and safety, looking at the future management of their customers coming in to them? Again, both from, as I say, a health and safety perspective, I suppose looking at some type of queuing system. There could have been an element of technology involved in how they were going to operate in the future. But they were quite specific in terms of what they were looking for, and we were able to find somebody to provide some support to them and provide some advice.
Thanks, Tomas. So our next question is from Susan Bowman. She says, did you say that Leo have dropped any charges on any programs?
Yeah, what we've had to do ourselves, rather than face-to-face programs as we're delivering in the past, I suppose, to start your own business programs, business growth programs, and so on. Anything that we're doing at the moment in terms of online programs, and I'm talking about relatively short programs, maybe, you know, our webinars and so on, we're not charging at the moment. Now, there are specific programs that will be coming down the line. We hope to get back into them. So, for example, looking at a program like Lean for Micro, which looks at the business efficiencies and so on, there would be a charge for that program because it would be far more intensive. Or we're presently looking at perhaps a Food Start program or Food Academy program. Again, there would be national charges for these programs. But outside of those, generally, particularly the webinars, the mentoring, the one-to-one support, like, for example, we have a COVID-19 mentoring contract out at the moment, again, where we'd have somebody who would be available on a full-time basis within the office here to deal with these queries, and those services are free.
Okay, Thanks, Tomas. Our next question is from Katie O'Carroll. She asks, will there be tailored training in social distancing measures, for example, with restaurants?
I think that's a very interesting question. Again, we have to await I suppose the guidance, particularly from the health authorities in relation to this, but I would say certainly that would be something that will be available. Yes, and I think it's absolutely important, particularly for local services, to get them back into business. And we need clarity on this. So, but to answer your question, yes, and we're looking at doing something at the moment. I've been talking to a trainer and maybe just trialing something in the beautician and I suppose area, just to see if we can work a program there and maybe swivel it. But as I say, this could be a 1 hour webinar or whatever. I know we've also had discussions with the Education and Training Board, and they're looking at rolling out a series of programs as well. They would be more substantive than what we would operate. I suppose what we'd be doing generally might be a taster program at the outset, or just providing this is what you need to know in order to get out there and get going, and there'd be something more substantive happening in the background.
Thanks, Tomas. Our next question is, let me just have a look here. Anita Duna, so there's actually 2 questions. So the first one is, how long do I have to wait after attending the webinar to find out if I'm eligible for funding? So that's with the trading online vouchers. And then what steps are taken next if I've already got a quote from a web designer? Okay.
I suppose in terms of the first question, how long do you have to wait? If you attend the webinar and if you're registered in the webinar, and we do look for the fact that people are registered in the webinar, for a decent period of time, 45 minutes, and they do attend the webinar, then subsequent to that, we would send out a link to our application. Why don't we have an open application process at the moment? It is because of the demand for the voucher itself. Like last year, just give an example, we did something like 65 of these vouchers. Over the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've had over close to 200 people registered for the webinars. So a lot of people are looking at trying to develop their online capacity. But once you attend the webinar, and that's a pre-requirement, we would at that stage email a link to the application form to you. And the second question was?
What steps are taken next? So if she's already got a quote from a web designer, what happens next?
Yeah, if you've already got a quote and if you've got your if you've got your application, you basically complete it. We do ask that people or that businesses do seek 3 quotations if possible, because there might be varied elements to your website. We are not foolish enough to know that perhaps at times you have already worked with a web designer who might have developed your basic website, and that you'd like to use that web designer in terms of moving forward again, because they know your business. Like, we do not dictate who you actually use. I suppose we would assess the application when it does come in, and obviously I suppose in terms of value for money, we would have to make a call on that internally here. So for example, if you're getting a quotation of €1,400 from a web designer to develop your website, and at the same time there's one coming in for €5,000, there's obviously something strange going on there. So that is something we take each application on its own merits.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tomas. Next one from Geraldine Hannafin. Do you have a list of local businesses who accept the online trading vouchers?
Trading online vouchers, we would have a list of web designers. And again, we can circulate that. Do we have a preferred provider? No, we don't, because that wouldn't be very helpful. But yes, there are good web designers here in the county, and certainly we do have a listing of those. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Tomas.
But look, I would like to emphasize we wouldn't recommend one website designer over another. I think ultimately, that is back to the business. But I do think that the webinar itself, and if people sign on for the webinar, it is very thorough. It gives a lot of information. Like even in the past, what we did was we invite in web designers to attend our previous seminars. They'd wait in another room and they were available for discussion with potential applicants. But we do have lists, as I say. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. The next one is from Anonymous. Tomas, you mentioned new technology. what funding would be available for technology not in this country? So assume technology that you can't source in this country, but that you want to bring in. So for example, they're saying new green energy.
Okay, I suppose it depends. I suppose what I've spoken about today would be some of the COVID measures, but our grant schemes, our general grant schemes are running in the background as well. And these would be what are known as priming business expansion grants. What I'd say to that person would be just give a shout and we can certainly discuss it. Now, it is important that I suppose if somebody is applying for core grant aid, that again, it would demonstrate a value-added component. It isn't just a case of purchasing and reselling, that there would have to be a value-added component. But if that person wants to come back and give me a call, we can certainly tease that out and have a chat with that.
Okay, perfect. I can answer this one from Maria. Am I eligible for this voucher if I live in Dingle? Yes, obviously. So,
right. What I would say there is that there's Údarás na Gaeltachta operate a similar voucher scheme. Okay. Now, so if you're based in the Gaeltacht, I would say in the first instance have a conversation with Údarás. What we've been doing here, because of the demand on the voucher scheme, is that we've been referring, we'll say, Gaeltacht-based clients directly to Údarás na Gaeltachta. So, but if she wants to come back and have a chat with me on it, I'd be happy to do that and make the referral.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, Tomas. And the next one from Sabina Barry. Is it possible to avail of the trading online voucher again if I got the voucher 4.5 years ago?
It is, providing that there's added value to your existing website and that you're increasing the e-commerce functionality. Yes, but you can apply a second time.
Okay. This next one is similar. It's from Hazel Coleman. If you have previously had an online trading voucher, but you want to totally change your business, would that be a new application or add on to your previous one? Oh, your sound is gone there, Tomas. Sorry now, Tomas, I don't know if anyone else can hear you, but I can't. I can't hear you, Tomas, so maybe just do something. I'm not sure if everyone else is having the same issue as me.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, gotcha. You're back. Just if you could just repeat the end of that one there, just in case.
So the question was if, Ellen, just give me.
Yeah, if you've previously had a voucher, but you want to change the nature of your business, is it a new application or do you add it on to a previous one?
No, you can, I suppose basically you'll be making the second application and I suppose you'll be taking it forward from there. If it's an existing business and if you're enhancing its online presence, then you can come in and you can apply for the new voucher.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's the question, was it?
Yeah, that if it's an existing business now, obviously I'm assuming it's trading under the same name, but then potentially they're changing the nature of the business.
Okay, no, that's not an issue. As long as the business has been trading for more than 6 months and registered in trading, yeah.
Perfect. The next question from Ailish Brosnan. For the trading online voucher, do you have to spend the money first and then get reimbursed, or is the funding provided first?
Unfortunately, you do. Again, because it's like a mini grant, I suppose, again, the money has to be spent prior to drawdown. But I would say in relation to the enhanced voucher, like, okay, it's up to a maximum of €2,500, 90% of funding, like you're almost getting your full amount of funding back. Like it's a 10% matching fund. But yes, to answer your question, you do have to spend the money first.
Okay, thanks, Tomas. Next one from Helen Burns. Thanks very much, Tomas. She says, can you please give us the 1-800 number again? I think that's the one that you gave at the start.
Yeah, it's 1-800-807-102. So that's 1-800-807-102.
Perfect, thank you. Another question here from Susan Bowman. What is the turnaround time for the trading online vouchers and other schemes?
Right, what we're doing at the moment is we're streamlining the system in terms of new voucher schemes that's coming through. We did operate the older voucher scheme again, where it was 50% matching funding. And we would hope that we do give businesses it's 9 months to draw down the trading online voucher. In terms of the turnaround, in terms of the letter of offer, we'd be talking about a week or two from receipt of application. Again, why? Because we have an online application system, and we're able to monitor completed applications or uncompleted applications as they come onto our system. Let's say the process is people complete the webinar, we email out a link to the trading online voucher application. I suppose the business completes it online, and we can monitor the complete or that process as well. So, like if anybody has any issues or whatever, we can actually talk through the application with them.
Okay, thanks,
But
Tomas.
turnaround time, we try and keep it as quickly as possible. Obviously, it's back to, I suppose, the volume of applications that we're actually getting at the moment. It's quite significant.
Okay, thanks, Tomas. Next question from Geraldine Hannafin. Where can I access the application for the online trading voucher, please?
We email it out. Again, once you complete the webinar itself, we would send out a link to the application and you'd be able to work directly on it.
Okay. The next one is anonymous. Can a business receive a grant for alterations and reopening expenses?
Well, that's an interesting question because, again, at the moment, I would say no under the current grant schemes. We're not really too sure what is coming down the line in terms of a future support offering in terms of assisting businesses reopen. I would imagine that will happen within the next 2 to 3 weeks. There has been some discussion about a restart program, again, just discussed over the weekend or launched over the weekend, but again, the particulars of the scheme must be clarified a little bit further. At the moment, what I'm saying to people, if there is an expense in reopening, obviously something like the microfinance loan scheme would be one option to look at that. Again, particularly where there's that 6-month moratorium at the moment, it's just giving you that bit of access to credit.
Thanks, Tomas. The next one is from Sabine Barry. Do you offer more webinars on the trading online voucher? Sorry. Oh yes, okay, right. What she's saying basically is that the webinars are booked out currently. So are there others available?
Yeah, we'll be running a further series of webinars. Again, I would hope within the next week or two we'll be putting those up. I suppose we've been using a trainer, and he's exceptionally busy as you can imagine at the moment. But he's highly regarded and he's very good. And the information he gives is very valid, and we'll be anxious to retain his services going forward. But I suppose to answer the question again, yes, we'll be putting up more webinars.
Okay, thanks, Tomas. Next question from Ailish Brosnan. There has been a big demand for your online Facebook training. Will Leo be offering more of these? We
will indeed. And again, as it proved very popular, I suppose, again, we have a very good trainer there. And again, these programs fill very quickly once we do put them up. And yes, we will be following through on those, and we will be looking at new, I suppose, a new series of training events over the next couple of months. Again, it's subject to demand. But what I would say is if you're interested in something, contact the office, email us, leo@kerrycoco.ie. That's leo@kerrycoco.ie. And what we would do is that we just retain a record sheet of people who are interested in programs, and we contact them once we organise the programs and once we schedule them.
Okay, thanks, Tomas. We're getting there. Not too many left. The business continuity voucher, how long will it take until I know that I'm approved? I got a call from Leo, but did not get the information yet, whether or not, well, yeah, they've not basically found out whether they're being approved or not. So they're just wondering how long.
Yeah, we're working through those at the moment. Again, we'd have a large volume of applications. What we do is once we receive the continuity voucher, there's an acknowledgement, and I'm sure that's what this person has received. And we'll be following through on a case-by-case basis. So if you're in the system, you receive the acknowledgement, you will be getting a call from us. And like what we're doing isn't just a case of assigning somebody. I suppose what we do here in Kerry is that we go back and we talk to whoever has applied for the continuity voucher. We have a discussion with them just to see where they are and just tease things out a little bit further. And we're anxious to have those discussions, again, get the feedback. Sometimes we find that people might apply for the continuity voucher, and through the course of the discussion, it might be it mightn't be exactly what they've put in the application form. Maybe there's another area that would assume a priority even from the time they've applied for the voucher itself. And again, that allows us perhaps schedule that expert advice.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tomas. This one is from Katie O'Carroll. I applied for the voucher through Leo, but I'm based in the Gaeltacht. Should I change the application?
We'd have a look at that, Katie. Again, if it has come in and if you're in the Gaeltacht, we would refer from our office here. We would contact Udros na Gaeltacht directly ourselves. But I'll check it out, okay? If you want to come back to me on it.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks,
Please.
Tomas. I've just two more left. So this one here is from Michelle Keane. Can you give me more detail on the retail development grants available? Maybe a minute there.
I assume Michelle is talking about it's the Enterprise Ireland scheme. Again, this is a more substantive scheme, and I suppose the maximum grant goes up to 50,000 euros. I'll just bring it up here again. But it's something that obviously Enterprise Ireland have launched in response to demands, particularly for the larger retailers. Now, there is a live webinar on the Enterprise Ireland website itself, again, which carries a lot of information in terms of the questions and answers. Now, just to run through it briefly again, the closing date is 3 o'clock on the 20th of May. The business has to be an Irish-owned retail enterprise with 10 or more employees on or before the 29th of February 2020. So this is geared at those larger businesses. So 10 or more employees on or before the 29th of February. The business must be a retail outlet. Again, people have come back and asked me, is the hospitality sector, does it qualify for the scheme? It doesn't, but it has to be a retail outlet and have an existing online presence. Again, the maximum grant is 40,000 euros. And successful applicants will be awarded funding to support a maximum of 80% of the project costs, with the minimum grant amount being 10,000 euros. Salary costs and consultancy fees to develop a digital strategy, enhance the company's website, or provide training are eligible costs. Now, the email is retail@enterprise-ireland.com. But if you go onto the Enterprise Ireland website, and if you just do a little search, Enterprise Ireland Retail Online Scheme, you will come across the specific package there. And again, there's a very informative webinar link on that page as well. So that's what I would advise you to do.
Okay, thanks, Tomas. Just two left now. Okay, so Martin Schrantz is asking, are there any incentives to hire more staff at present? So obviously for his own business.
As well, Martin, because I suppose the easiest way back, I suppose what you have is you have schemes like wage subsidy schemes, or you'd have, I suppose you'd obviously the pandemic payment scheme is out there. I suppose in terms of moving forward, looking at, I suppose our core financial supports, again, there'll be an employment element within our business expansion grant. In terms of looking to the future, again, is there going to be a specific scheme encouraging employers to take on people? That could be an interesting space. I do like the employment supports structures myself, because again, over time, and providing the employment is retained within the business, there's, I suppose one could argue that there's a nil net cost, we'll say, to the state in terms of supporting initial employment due to income tax revenues and so on associated with those jobs. But whatever it comes down the track, it has to be relatively simple to implement. I think, myself, even staff retention support is probably an area that needs to be looked at. But, as I was saying to Elin earlier, and I think, it was actually an interesting conversation we had before coming on today, is getting feedback from, I suppose, the network and members and people associated with the network in terms of the type of supports that would help them directly themselves. And maybe that would be an interesting exercise to have a look at, because we do feed that information back to the department and the powers that be, and certainly, it would be a good exercise.
Yeah, absolutely, Tomas, and that's something we're going to look into. We'll put something up on the website and out on the social media, just to try and, if you guys can send in your feedback to us, and then we can relay that information back to you guys, Tomas.
That's perfect,
actually a few more last minute ones
I don't
have come in here. So unless you're in a rush to go off, I don't know how we're doing for time, but there's another one here from Anonymous. You mentioned 27th of May as a possible closing date for the business continuity vouchers. Will they be finished then? Is that the end of them?
Again, I can't answer that. I suppose I suppose at I suppose a funder level, and this would be outside our own remit here at the Department of Business and Enterprise Innovation. Again, I suppose they're trying to quantify exactly what is being allocated on a week by week basis, and I suppose they had to set some timeline on that. But I suppose to be my own feeling that it would probably be extended based on recent discussions, we'll say on the phased return to work and businesses going back. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tomas. Now, a question here from Katie O'Carroll. The Enterprise Ireland scheme, does it have to be 10 full-time employees, or can they be part-time, I'm assuming is the question?
I would imagine that to be equivalent. So there wouldn't have to be, I suppose, if you had two part-time people, would say working 50%, like that would make up your one full-time. So I would say, I suppose it depends on how you can quantify that yourself. I suppose basically there's the expressions, as I say, it's known as full-time equivalency, and they would be talking about 10 full-time equivalents. Now you could have 20 part-time or whatever, but what I'd say is if you go back, the email is retail at Enterprise Ireland, and just ask the query. I had a query there from a business there during the week, and I sent it on, and they came back within 2 days to me. So that's what I would do, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Tomas. Anonymous here, can I apply to use a trading online voucher to enhance 2 sites? I used a voucher before to successfully enhance one of these sites, and I now want to enhance the second site's functionality.
Well, if it's a separate business, right, so let's backtrack here. I suppose if you've already applied for a trading online voucher, and you're coming in looking for another trading online voucher, yes, you can do that. And if it's just one additional voucher you're looking for, yes, I wouldn't see an issue there. Now, I suppose in terms of can you apply for a second new voucher, it depends on whether the businesses are linked or whether they're separate businesses. But again, I suppose that's where we could have a discussion. But like if, I suppose to answer your question, if you applied for a voucher previously and you're looking for a new voucher, yes, that's perfectly eligible, as long as you fulfill the criteria in terms of enhanced e-commerce activity development. That would be okay, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tomas. And our last question, is it possible to avail of both the online trading voucher grant and the business continuity grant? Yes,
and microfinance and the other schemes that are available too. Now, what I would say in terms of the just to talk through this, microfinance is directed at businesses employing less than 10 people. Again, that's why it's micro. The trading online voucher, again, the trading online voucher is directed at businesses employing less than 10. The business continuity voucher, it is open to business employing up to 50.
Okay, perfect.
That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're done. Thank you so much, Tomas.
My apologies. I'm not too sure what happened with Zoom, but I'll certainly make the presentation available, Ellen, if you want to post it or link it.
Yeah, that would be great. We're going to, everyone who registered or attended today, we'll send you out a link to be able to access this so you can view in your own time afterwards. And we'll also put it up on our website so you can go in and scroll through to the bit that was most relevant to you. And yeah, Tomas, if you could send on that presentation, that would be excellent. We can put that up with it so you can have them side by side. But a huge thank you again, Tomas, for joining us today, and we'll send on any questions directly to you, any ones that come in, and we'll obviously be working with you guys moving forwards as things develop and change, which, this is an ongoing situation, so that's inevitably going to happen. And we might even have to get you back, Tomas, depending on how things go.
Oh, but I'd be happy to come back, Ellen. Even in terms of the Q&A, I think it's often very useful, and yes. There are questions I mightn't be able to answer at times. That's life as well. I might have to go back and do a bit of looking around, but sure. Certainly if it was if you want to do a regular session in terms of a bit of advice or mentoring or whatever through this network, you know, I'd be happy to do so.
Yeah, that'd be great. And look, anyone there who would be interested in that, just drop us a line or even just comment in any of our latest posts on social media, just to let us know, because it'd be just really good to get your feedback on that too. So thank you all for attending, and thank you again, Tomas, and for your ongoing support of Kerry Leo. KBN would not be here were it not for the funding that we receive from you guys, so incredibly valuable for us, and then allowing us to do the work to bring businesswomen around the county together and to get them the training and supports that are needed. Just to let you know that our next webinar is this day week, so Tuesday the 12th. And we're going a little bit different for this one. We're bringing Sean Taff and two of his top stylists, and they're going to run through how to sort out your hair at home. I was speaking to Sean the other day, and he said he never thought that he would ever be recommending to anybody to use a colour out of a box or to even attempt cutting your own hair, but that's what's going to happen on Tuesday. So don't touch the hair till then. If you had any ideas to do that, hold off until we're back. And the link for that is going to go up live on tomorrow. So thank you all again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now.